And the Knicks have a lot of that. But those minutes add up, and we kept saying, when's the dam going to break? Like, how long can you be led by a dominant, ball-dominant point guard who's playing virtually all the minutes? How long can Josh Hart play with this much heart and produce double his career averages? Like, at some point, when does it end? That was yesterday. That game was never competitive. So, listen, I don't even think Knicks fans think they're a great team. They're a great story, and they have a lot of heart. But again, you need talent and skill. The Eastern Conference is bad. This is about as bad as it's ever been. And then you add on the fact that players like Dame and Giannis were hurt, and they scraped and clawed their way to a couple of wins. But again, when your scoring comes, almost all of the key points come from a ball-dominant point guard. I've seen it with Dame in Portland. I've seen it with Westbrook teams. I've seen it with Harden teams. The Warriors were different with Steph. It wasn't about Steph being ball dominant. That was never the issue. It was about ball movement, off-ball movement. That's where Steph's a legend along with his shooting. And so the Warriors never got into that ball-dominant stuff. It was always about moving the pieces. Draymond Green could have the ball. He could be the catalyst, so it didn't wear down Steph Curry. There were other scorers. There was Klay Thompson. At one point there was Kevin Durant. It wasn't all. By the way, in the last year or two, it's become too much about Steph, and the Warriors don't do anything. So Brunson was averaging 35 a game in the playoffs, number one usage rate. You just kept asking, how long? It's not being a hater to say, yeah, this thing doesn't feel like it's sustainable. That's being realistic. Now, the good news for the Knicks, the really good news, because this wasn't the case for the last 2 decades, they look really well run. They actually have a culture, like a Miami Heat culture. They have a Villanova culture. They play hard. They've got to be very careful when they go to get the next star that they don't give up too many pieces. Can you keep OG? You'll keep Brunson, but could you keep Josh Hart? You're going to have to give something up to get another high-end player. They'll move off Randall, maybe Mitchell Robinson. Maybe they'll get different size. But in the end, they look well run. They've got a culture, and maybe they beat Indianapolis. Maybe they beat the...
Yeah, okay. So the Knicks have been such a fascinating story to me because, I watched the series very closely against the Sixers, and the Sixers, that was tough because they're going up against an injured Embiid, banged up Embiid, as well as a very young Tyrese Maxey, who's a lot of people wanted to hate on Tyrese Maxey, especially Knicks fans. And it's like, Jalen Brunson is your guy right now, which I understand, and yet Tyrese Maxey averaged like 20 points more at 22, 23 years old than Jalen Brunson ever did in the playoffs. So let's tap the brakes there on that one. But I think the Knicks have been such a great story to watch, and they've been fun to watch, quite honestly, because of their heart, because of their, grittiness and trying to will themselves to winning. That's really every single game that they've won, is they've had to will themselves to win, speak it into existence, so to speak. Whereas you see when the Nuggets win, when you see the Timberwolves win, it's been very, I am better than you. I am better than you. Get out of here. The Knicks, I don't think, have a single win like that, even if it appears like that on the surface. It's just that they've out-hustled, worked harder, played harder, were more focused, did all the little things, the dirty things. And I don't mean like dirty as in like dirty plays. The dirty work. And that they are able to put that all together, which is what we see a lot of times in March Madness, right? Those little Cinderella stories. But like most of the time, pretty much 99.9999999% of the time, those Cinderella stories end because it's not sustainable. Because when you do go up against a good team, a better team, the out hustling and all of that type of stuff, those little things, they can only get you so far. There's that one saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. The Timberwolves, they work hard. The Nuggets, they work hard. That's just reality. OKC, they work hard. The Knicks work hard, and they have some talent, but not as deep as, say, the Nuggets or even the Timberwolves, or dare I say OKC. It is definitely live and die by Jalen Brunson. Now, don't get me wrong. DiVincenzo and Hart, all those guys stepped up without a doubt. But this is what I said during the Sixers series. This is what I was saying when I was watching the game. I actually watched the game, pretty much all the games except for one or two with my parents. And Hart is shooting like literally 90% from three. I mean, he's just making every single three. And I was saying to them, that's not sustainable. If that's the way how they're going to win games, that's not sustainable. And it's true. If you're winning games based off of some of your players knocking down shot after shot after shot after shot after shot, especially from three, that's not sustainable. You can go on a run, you can get hot, you can win some games, but it's just not sustainable. It's not bulletproof enough. Because the moment that goes away, then how are you going to win? And that's what we kind of saw with the Knicks in part, not all of it. And again, I'm not explaining all of their wins based off of that, but it's definitely part of it. It's definitely part of the story, and that just can't be denied. And going up against an injured Embiid, and whether you think Embiid was injured or not, then it's like you have to pick your poison then, because either Embiid was injured, which that's who he was, or he comes up small in the playoffs, which a lot of people love to point out and say, see, he just can't come up in the big moments. So again, if you're a Knicks fan, then it's like, well, then which is it? Did you beat an injured Embiid, or did you beat an Embiid who could just never step up in the playoffs, who the moment's too big for him? Either way, it doesn't make you feel good about a Knicks fan, if you're a Knicks fan. And now you're playing the Indiana Pacers, who most likely would have lost against a full-strength Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. I don't think that's a far stretch to make. So to struggle with the Pacers at all isn't, a good look. Isn't the best thing. But at the same time, the Knicks should still feel really good about themselves, what they've been able to build. Like Colin was saying, the culture that they've built, the attitude that they've built, and I absolutely positively would not sacrifice any real legitimate contributor for the Knicks when trying to get another star. No ifs, ands, or buts. You do not do what the Milwaukee Bucks did, where they got rid of Drew Holiday to get Damian Lillard. That proved to be a massive mistake. You're not going to give up DiVincenzo to get a Kevin Durant or something like that. That's not going to work. You have to keep what makes you special. The players that do the little things, the players that have helped contribute to this culture, to the positive atmosphere, to the feeling of we can do this. You have to keep that core and then add, say, like a KD. But you can't give up, even an OG or any of these guys in place of, say, again, I just keep using Kevin Durant because that seems to be near the top of the list. Because that is exactly how you run into a situation like the Milwaukee Bucks, which I didn't think the Milwaukee Bucks could win it. We're going to win a championship this year, even if they were fully healthy. But I still think that they would have been better. They would have beat the Pacers, most likely. But that's where I think that the Knicks could run themselves in trouble. If they give up too much of their identity and some of the special players, even though they're not as well known as, say, a Brunson, that you give them up. That was a massive mistake that the Milwaukee Bucks did. And it was what the Warriors did not do when they added KD. They kept Clay. They kept Draymond. They kept, obviously, Steph. They kept even Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala would have been a very easy player to say, all right, we'll give up, we got to let go of Andre. They didn't do that. They let go of the players that it was obvious were not truly contributing to that culture, to that identity of the Warriors. And so when they added KD, they got better. It wasn't like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing. It was, we're going to take 1 step backwards and 5 steps forward. That's what the Knicks need to do. If the Knicks are going to actually make a legitimate title run in the future, they need a better player, and they need to do so by just improving as a whole rather than this, well, we're kind of giving up a player or two and then we're getting another player back, which means we're going to kind of have we're going to be a little bit better. They need to be a lot bit better, quite honestly. If they're really going to make a run, they need to get a lot bit better. And they need another player outside of Jalen Brunson who can drop 30 points on any given night. That's what they need. And that's not really what they have, at least from a consistency standpoint. With the Warriors, it was either Steph, KD, or Clay. Whether you want to take the KD years or not, at any moment, those players could step up and do what needs to be done. And consistently, not once in a blue moon. Same thing with the Denver Nuggets. You have Jokic who can drop 35 points, and you got Jamal Murray who can drop 30 points, 35 points. And Aaron Gordon who can drop 30 points. And Michael Porter Jr. You need that. You need the weapons. You need more ammo. You can't just do it on one player willing to do it. We saw this with the Sixers a million years ago with Allen Iverson. You need more. Michael Jordan couldn't do it alone. LeBron James couldn't do it alone. Steph Curry couldn't do it alone. None of these guys can do it alone. Jalen Brunson has a team. Hart, DiVincenzo. Those are all nice pieces, but they're not enough. They're just not enough. And Brunson, especially just because of his own size, I think, what is he, like 6'1"? It's exhausting. And that's what Colin was kind of saying about him being so ball dominant, that it wears you down. He's banged up now, and you're always going to be banged up in the playoffs when it is all you 24/7. It's just the way it goes. It's just the way it is. So it's why James Harden kind of would fade in the playoffs. It's why Embiid faded in the playoffs. When you're so dominant towards one player, you can only take so much. You can only survive the season and the playoffs. It's why a player like LeBron James can't really be as successful in the playoffs as he once was, because his body just can't recover anymore. That's what happens when you're a little bit smaller of a player like a Jalen Brunson or a Steph Curry, for that matter. So that's just the way I see it. I would really love to hear your thoughts on this one. I know a lot of people are high on the Knicks, and I get it. It's a fun story, but I just don't really see them being able to make a true run this season. Maybe they will get past the Pacers. That's definitely possible, but I find it really hard to believe that they'll be able to successfully beat the Celtics, and I do not think that they will have any chance at beating OKC, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, or even Dallas. But I don't know. That would be an interesting series. The Dallas Mavericks versus the New York Knicks. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think? Do you think that the Knicks are just not sustainable for the playoffs? Do you think that the Knicks can actually legitimately make a run? And me and Colin are just completely wrong. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.